afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Seoul Smart City Leaders Forum 2020 would like to welcome all of you to the event, which is entitled the Leader Seminar. Let me greet you first. I am Lee Seung-hee, MC for today's event. Nice to meet you all. Well, first and foremost, we would like to convey our heartfelt gratitude to all the participants and viewers connected on and offline despite their tight schedules. A smart city is a future city where information communication technologies can be freely and widely used. Many overseas experts say that a smart city is an efficient solution to diverse urban problems. So we would like to take a look at diverse best examples of smart cities and would like to also discuss the future direction of it. And currently, this later seminar is live on YouTube channel of Seoul Metropolitan Government. Before we begin in earnest, I would like to make a few housekeeping announcements to all panelists connected online. And considering the characteristics of a virtual event, please make sure the connection condition of your network and camera, and above all,
before we
microphones.
begin, may I ask all speakers to keep your camera and also your network connection stable while having the seminar, and also pay special attention to your microphones. Thank you very much for your kind cooperation.
Well, then we'd like to have an introductory session of our guest speakers.
Now we would like to introduce speakers from home and abroad who are joining us today.
First, our speakers virtually connected from overseas late at night. And from the United States, we have CIO Ted Ross of the City of Los Angeles.
Mr. Ted Ross, Chief Information Officer of the City of Los Angeles. Hello.
Hello from Los Angeles.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time today and looking forward to hearing from you.
Next is Finland. We have Vice Director Santtu von Brun of Economic Development of Helsinki City.
Mr. Santtu von Brun, Vice Director of Economic Development of the City of Helsinki. Hello.
Hello, good morning from Helsinki. Nice being here.
Thank you very much for being here with us today. Thank you.
And from the Netherlands, we have Director Marijn Vrijen, CIO of the Municipality of Den Haag.
Next, we have Mr. Marijn Vrijen, Director of Information and IT, and also Chief Information Officer of the Municipality of The Hague. Hello.
Good morning from the Netherlands. Pleasure to join you today.
Thank you very much for your time today.
With that, we have introduced our speakers from overseas online. And also, we have another Korean speaker virtually connected, Director General Hong Myung-an of the Smart Inclusive City Bureau of Songdong-gu District Office. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Nice to meet you all. And we look forward to your presentation soon. Thank you for your time. And we also have guest speakers in the studio with us. First, we have Director Kim Jong-gun of Smart City Planning Division of SH Corporation. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. And moving on, to my left side, we have Director General Lee Won-mok of Smart City Policy Bureau of Seoul Metropolitan Government. Good afternoon. Thank you. And last but not least at all, Smart City expert is here with us, Chairman Lee Jong-hoon of Smart City Committee of Seoul Metropolitan Government. Thank you for your time. Thank you very much. And we have many viewers connected online, so that is why we have diverse greetings from good morning to good evening through good afternoon. And we can't miss out this session before we begin the seminar. We would like to invite Administrative Deputy Mayor Seo Jung-hyuk of Seoul Metropolitan Government for his congratulatory remarks. Please meet him on the screen.
미래 스마트 시대의 문을 열기 위한 온라인 집단 지성회장 2020 서울 스마트 시티 리더스 포럼에 입장해 주신 여러분 반갑습니다. 그리고 환영합니다. 서울시장 권한대행 서정협입니다. 코로나19라는 전례 없는 재난으로 바야흐로 전 세계는 문명 대전환을 막고 있습니다. 특히 비대면 방식의 라이프 스타일이 일상화되면서 디지털화의 가속화가 시대의 변화를 주도하고 있습니다. 그러나 또 한편에선 이로 인한 부작용도 나타나고 있습니다. 디지털에 익숙하지 않은 고령층, 장애, 경제적 여건 등으로 디지털 환경에 접근하기 어려운 취약계층이 겪고 있는 디지털 소외와 격차가 그것입니다. 사람 중심이라는 확고한 가치 안에서 차별도 격차도 없이 시민 모두가 더불어 누리는 포용적 스마트 시대를 만드는 일은 우리가 함께 도달해야 할 스마트 시대의 최종 종착점입니다. 세계 인구 절반이 살고 있는 도시가 앞장서야 합니다. 그래서 올해 서울 스마트 시티 리더스 포럼은 포용적 스마트 시티라고 하는 진화된 스마트 도시의 미래상을 모색해보는 무대로 꾸몄습니다. 서울시는 7회 연속 전자정부 세계 1위 자리를 지켜온 글로벌 리더 도시로서 세계 각국의 도시들과 머리를 맞대 해결 방안을 모색하겠습니다. 풍성한 통찰과 해안으로 함께해 주시기 바랍니다. 감사합니다.
Thank you very much. That was the words from Deputy Mayor Seo Jung-hyuk. So as you said, with the aging population and the increasing digital divide, we are faced with more and more societal issues, and smart city is one way to address these issues. I hope that we will be able to have in-depth discussion in this regard today. So first of all, I would like to introduce to you Mr. Lee Won-mok, who is the Director General of Smart City Policy Bureau of Seoul Metropolitan Government. He's going to share with us the Seoul City's case. I'd like to invite him to the middle of the stage for his presentation. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am Lee Won-mok, Director General of Smart City Policy Bureau of Seoul Metropolitan Government. I would like to thank the participation of Mr. Marian Freya from Hague, Mr. Ted Ross from LA, and Mr. Santibon Born from Helsinki. My appreciation also goes to Mr. Hong Myung-han from Sangdong District, Mr. Kim Jong-gun from SH Corporation, and Professor Lee Jung-hoon from Yonsei University. And thank you very much our YouTube viewers joining us for this 2020 Seoul Smart City Leaders Seminar Forum. Today, we're gathered here to share information and to share developmental solutions to opening up smart cities that are inclusive for the future. So today's seminar will be held online. I hope that it will be useful for many of you watching, and let me share the case of Seoul City government. Half of the world population is currently living in cities, so city life provides a pleasant and convenient life to citizens, but it is also causing a lot of urban issues. In order to address these issues, a lot of countries and cities around the world are making efforts to develop smart cities that are applying fourth industrial revolution technologies. So many different digital technologies are changing the lives of our citizens, and with the outbreak of COVID-19 this year, the digital transformation is being accelerated. We're seeing increasing demand in internet banking, work from home, online schooling, online shopping mall, and kiosks. So expansion of contact-free approaches are indeed transforming the lifestyles of our citizens. However, the accelerated digital transformation is also aggravating digital divide and digital marginalization. With the spread of COVID-19, there had been increasing demand in masks, but the digital vulnerable people had difficulty accessing digital services that were related to their livelihoods, and it was very difficult for them to take part in contact-free exchanges, thus aggravating their marginalization. So they had their safety threatened as well as convenience undermined. So they are indeed being excluded from their society. So the Seoul City government, as part of its transformation to digitalization, we believe that inclusive smart city is the key to success in addressing the digital divide and digital marginalization.
And at the core of our Smart City Seoul is sustainable innovation and people centricity. Sustainable innovation is about driving the strategy to see growth and the safety management of our cities. The Seoul city government, as the key factors in developing smart inclusive cities, want to harmonize and build technology infrastructure and human infrastructure. Technology infrastructure is about converging and connecting different latest technologies. We build a platform based on these technologies, which will serve as a physical foundation of Smart Seoul. And your human resources infrastructure focuses on the core value of Smart Seoul, that is people. And we want to create a social cultural environment where everybody will benefit and enjoy digital universal rights. And the core example of digital technology infrastructure is the 6S, which is a Smart Seoul platform. So this is the core to our platform or infrastructure, which connects people to different infrastructure. We want to implement a highly connected Seoul through high fiber networks and Wi-Fi, and we want to collect systemically all the data related to the urban environment on real time, including big data, AI, and IoT. We want to develop a customized services based on AI. And today, I would like to focus on the Smart Seoul Network, or SNet, which is one of the pillars of our 6S. The spread of smartphones and the increasing volume of video-centric contents, we're seeing an increased use of wireless data and thus the increased burden of household communication expenses. So unlimited service subscribers use 27 gigabytes per month, and limited service subscribers use only 3 gigabytes per month. So you can see there is a divide in communication of 24 gigabytes per month. And we're seeing the emergence of a lot of neologisms like data beggar or Wi-Fi refugees. And in the past, during the Industrial Revolution, highway was the main artery of our economy, the main locomotive. But in the new smart era, the highly connected communication infrastructure will become the bloodline of smart cities. SNet is about investing 102.7 billion won of a budget to build 5,954 kilometers of dedicated optic fiber communication network and installing 18,450 public Wi-Fi APs. And we have a plan to achieve this by 2021, and it is a very ambitious plan of Seoul City government to prepare for the post-COVID-19 era. First of all, ultra-high-speed communication network is integrating all of these different networks that had been operating on an individual basis in the past. So it is integrating all the networks that are covering 4,435 kilometers. And as a second step, we're going to expand 1,519 kilometers of network, which will serve as a capillary network covering entire part of Seoul. The second is to install 11,030 public Wi-Fi APIs additionally, so that we can provide a latest Wi-Fi 6 service that is 4 times faster than the existing Wi-Fi service, and that will be accessible to all citizens. Furthermore, the Seoul City government is operating 92 IoT services, and we would like to focus on 3 major areas in disaster management, facility management, and welfare that are highly scalable. We want to roll out pilot services leveraging IoT network. Last year in October, we had a press conference to launch our SNet development plan. We developed our informatization strategy plan, and we also held public hearings in participating with our citizens, and we also set up an advisory committee to reflect the voices of our citizens. So SNet actually covers 5 local districts, including Sangdong-gu and Gurogu, and we're going to roll out the service officially from September this year and progressively roll out the service throughout Seoul area. As for our public Wi-Fi initiative, we held a brand naming competition, and the name that won the award was Seoul Wi-Fi Gachiun. So Gachi actually means a magpie in English, so it's a bird that brings good news, and on is that Wi-Fi is always turned on. But on also has another meaning. On means also an untapped world post-COVID-19. And SNET actually is about developing the infrastructure for smart cities in advance to reduce cost and increase efficiency. We want to ensure the communication basic rights of our citizens to enhance the access to those services by our citizens. If you actually look at the expected benefits, we are expected to see a lot of cost cutting, but through public Wi-Fi initiative, we also expect to see a benefit of about 50,000 Korean won per capita first, and we hope to see an expected benefit of 3 trillion Korean won per year through our citizens and 5.36 million foreign visitors. Now I would like to talk about how Seoul City is working to enhance the digital competency of our smart citizens. According to our recent study, so the elderly population over 56 years of age, their level of digital usage is very low. It's in fact less than half of the entire population, and you can see that there is a growing divide in digital post-COVID-19. So we want to make sure that everybody has access to digital services and benefit from these services, and it is very important to create an environment to enhance digital competency of people. With the outbreak of COVID-19, the smartphone has become an essential commodity that is directly linked to our safety as well as livelihood. And it is very important to enhance the digital competency of our citizens, including the elderly population. And this will lead to improved quality of life, but also strengthen our smart Seoul's human resources infrastructure, and also to spread the use of the administrative data. The Seoul City government is very committed to enhancing the digital access rights of our citizens, and we have developed a smartphone subscription model dedicated to the elderly population, and we're also providing financial aid to the senior citizens so that they can easily adopt smartphones, and this initiative will kick off from October 2021. Added to this initiative, we plan to build a digital competency training ecosystem. So we want to provide an education or training to people to enhance digital competency anytime, anywhere, so they can leverage the hub centers like the community centers as well as welfare centers to receive online and offline digital competency training. Furthermore, Seoul City is developing a lot of educational content. So we're providing customized and personalized programs to the senior citizens, and we are also providing experience zones for kiosks and providing digital education utilizing robots. Last but not least, I would like to talk about how we are developing a digital access standard, taking into consideration the physical and the cognitive characteristics of the digitally vulnerable elderly population. In order to address the digital divide and also to analyze the digital competency of the Seoul citizens, we have been conducting a Seoul survey on 20,000 households living in Seoul, and we're taking stock of the digital divide situation in Seoul. The Seoul City government, as mentioned, is implementing the 6S-centered future smart city development, technology infrastructure development, including the SNET, and we plan to provide innovative administrative services that are fit for the contact-free lifestyles of our citizens, and we hope to enhance the competency of our smart citizens so that we can ultimately improve the vitality and competitiveness of our city and improve the quality of lives of our citizens. Thank you for listening. Thank you very much, Mr. Lee Won-mok, who is in charge of the smart city policy of Seoul Metropolitan City. So he shared with us different case studies of Seoul city government and also its plan ahead. Now I have the pleasure to introduce to you a distinguished guest from Netherlands. Mr. Marin Franje is going to talk about the case of Hague.
Mr. Franje, can you hear me? I think your microphone is not turned on.
I saw it.
Yes, thank you. Please begin your presentation.
Yeah. Good morning, I'm Marijn Franje, and today I'm going to tell you a little bit how The Hague is experimenting to see how we can find solutions to let elderly people live longer at home. In the Netherlands, we have seen that the average age of the life expectancy of people has increased in the last 50 years from 70 up to 80 years. At the same time, we see as well that the majority of the people in the Netherlands is getting older and older, and that we have a large group of elderly people in the next decades that basically wants to live at their home and not go to elderly care. So the main target of this project is to see, okay, how can we help elderly people with innovation to live longer and healthy at home? To do that, we created an ICT and health experience home in an elderly care house in which 100 participants voluntarily can try different experiments and innovations on their own like. So they can try everything out, and if they like it, they can bring it at their own home. And basically in that way, by testing it out, we see what works and what doesn't work. One thing that's included in it as well is a 24/7 help desk to help the people using their equipment and the technologies. Up till now, we have tried out 225 different new technologies, and that's ranging from a lot of different kind of things. Robots that alert you when you have to take medicine, specific carpet to avoid tripping, kitchen tools for safety while cooking or cutting vegetables or working with hot water, video intercom, fire alarm systems, different kind of tooling in the bathroom. So basically all different kind of things that are entitled to let people live longer and safer at their home. And what are the key elements for success? Of course, it should match the need of participants. So they should have benefit of the technologies that has been worked out. It should be easy to use. Support for the installation of the technologies is very critical. So they need to get help to get some education how it works. The solution should fit in the personal context. Not everybody's home is the same, and not everybody's situation is the same when they're elder. Some people have difficulties to walk, other people have hearing problems, so they really should fit that context. The tools need to be affordable, so it shouldn't be very expensive for people to buy them, and the solution should be scalable. Now, what we noticed, elderly people can and want to use the technology, so it has been a big success with the first pilot group. It's important to take the time and to support them by the use of it. But we found out as well that using trusted people in the elderly people's own network helps a lot for them to adopt to the new technologies. The more technology, the more satisfaction people experience in their own living at home. So it gives the right benefit that they want. And what we found out as well, that special attention is needed for elderly people that are fragile, so that they really have some difficulties in walking or moving around. And elderly people with a migration background, because sometimes for culturally wise, they have different kind of demands. And in the end, we find out that it's award-winning because the elderly people that participated in the experiment are actually the driver for success. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much. And we would now like to listen to some Korean cases. First, the Seongdong-gu district of Seoul City will be pitched by Director General Hong Myung-an of Seongdong-gu District Office. Please. Good afternoon. Good afternoon all. My name is Hong Myung-an, Director General for the Smart Inclusive City Bureau of Seongdong-gu District Office. Well, Seongdong-gu plays a key role in establishing a smart city, and it's a great honor for me to have this opportunity to present. And since 2008, Seongdong-gu has been establishing daily life-based smart city facilities and infrastructures. and diverse projects are being conducted. And today, we would like to enumerate 3 major projects of Smart City, including Smart Shelter, Smart Crosswalk, and Smart City Integrated Operations Center. Smart Shelter was firstly established in 2017 in consideration of the well-being of our citizens in summer and winter to protect our citizens against heat wave and cold air by placing sun shelter and hot air shelters for summer and winter respectively. We got awarded as representative city of smart shelters, and also safe, design, smart. With these 3 key words, we upgraded our shelters as smart ones. Even if it is walled, it has an openness because we have used glasses. And these smart shelters play a role of protecting our citizens against viruses. And we installed a thermal imaging camera, air sterilizer, and hand sanitizers inside the shelter. And also, we have a digital signage inside of the booth, the shelter I mean, which emits real-time basic transportation information. And also, the smart shelter has a functionality of secured environment through a remote control by the Integrated Control Center. And we installed CCTV and emergency alarm bell inside of the booth. And also some facilities like wired and wireless charging stations and tables and seats, so that we can allow our citizens to use the smart shelter as cafe. So, Songdong Smart Shelter has become a small cafe in the middle of the city. And this case was covered not only by domestic media, but also by overseas media, including Reuters, as representative case, exemplary case of city services for citizens. Also, IoT, AI, and ICT technologies have been applied to Crosswalk in Songdong-gu District, and we call it Smart Crosswalk. Well, our citizens tend to cross the crosswalk, not paying attention to cars, but to their mobile phones, and the number of such people was reported to grow year by year. So, for the sake of our citizens' safety, we applied the smart crosswalk, which can be easily recognized even at night. And on this crosswalk, we installed floor traffic lights and also voice guidance to give signals to pedestrians and also to car drivers. And we have IoT stop line guards or traffic lights, and also pin lighting at night, and runway landing lights are also installed into the smart crosswalk so that pedestrians can recognize the crosswalk from distance. And also, logo light was is applied as the traffic sign of smart crosswalk. And last but not least, we have an integrated control operation center of smart city in Seongdong-gu district. And this is a central control center to supervise fire lane management and adolescent smoking areas, and also bicycle theft monitoring and flight tipping crackdowns. And cooperative system is in place within the district so that information on the road can be gathered on a real-time basis so that we can address crimes within the district. So as a result, 1,034 crimes are arrested and prevented, and 5 major crimes of Seongdong-gu district has decreased by 16.7% in 2019 versus 2016, and also the case of exploiting these information to real investigation has increased by 43.8%. So, Seongdong-gu provides diverse services for citizens using IoT and AI technologies so that we can make our city smarter. We will strive our efforts to make Seongdong-gu district a 21st century advanced city district. Thank you. Thank you very much for your insightful presentation on real cases of Seongdong-gu district. Thank you. Up until now, we have listened to 3 different cities cases, including Seoul, Hague, and Seongdong-gu district. Mr. Lee Jong-hoon, Chairman Lee Jong-hoon, we have listened to 3 different cases. By listening to those stories, can you please tell us what is the role of a smart city? Well, the concept of a smart city started from infrastructure, but recently digital divide, and in relation with the 4th industrialization, smart city has now different concepts of SDG and digital services for the socially marginalized. In that sense, digital social innovation cannot be made without smart city concepts. But for whom we are talking about smart city or smart innovation? Like you have just listened to, many different cities try to approach the elderly, for the single-person households, and we try to imply inclusion into the smart city like Hague, and also smart shelter or smart crosswalk of Seongdong-gu district can be exemplary ones for other cities to become smarter. And SNET, announced by Seoul Metropolitan Government in the beginning of this year, claims the rights for digital citizenship. So from the marginalized classes of Seoul City and to all citizens using public transport, Seoul Metropolitan Government tried to see the smart city concept from the perspective of citizens. So diverse infrastructures will be installed gradually, I assume. And with the outbreak of COVID-19, the installation of smart services in the city will be accelerated, and we may have to face many different challenges. So that is why we need a comprehensive approach to a smart city. And there should be core elements that we need to take consideration. So we'd like to listen to other cases so that we can continue our discussion.
So as you said, the social inequalities actually happen in the dead spots or blind spots of our society. Would smart city be a solution to addressing these dead zones? Of course, we cannot actually address all the divides that there are through digital, but I think that we have to really make the fourth industrial revolution technology as something that is warm-hearted, something that is embracing. So we really have to think about how we can leverage these technologies to address the divide issues. And we really need the collective wisdom of our society to that end. Thank you very much for your comments. So you mentioned about the warm-hearted technology, the inclusive, embracing technology that will become the key to developing smart cities. And now we're going to turn to Los Angeles. So Mr. Tedros, City of Los Angeles, he's the CIO. He's going to deliver his presentation.
Mr. Tedros, if you have your visual slides ready, please have them on standby. And if you're ready, the floor is yours. Please begin your presentation.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Can you see the slides okay?
Yes. If you have your
Perfect.
yes, we can see it now. Thank you.
Great, thank you. The City of Los Angeles and the City of Seoul have special relationships. Not only are we big Pan-Pacific trade partners, and we also share a lot regarding tourism, but we also share ideas related to smart cities. So it's a pleasure to be invited to this leadership conference. Today, I've been asked to describe a little bit in regards to how we build an inclusive smart city, specifically through our data efforts. The City of Los Angeles has a Smart LA 2020 strategy. It has over 56 goals, but one of the most important, especially in the era of COVID-19, in an era of economic and professional recession, has to be creating not just an innovative society using smart city technology, but to create an ethical, equitable, an inclusive society using smart technology. I think it's very important, the idea of inclusion. I think my colleagues in the City of Seoul and The Hague have described that quite well. And I thought this quote from Deloitte was actually an excellent one to reinforce the importance of it. Cities that effectively foster inclusion, they not only offer greater opportunities for their residents, but they also reap widespread economic benefits. So inclusion is certainly the right thing to do when it comes to our neighborhoods and our societies, but it's also the best thing to do. It's the most effective way for us to grow our economies, to engage diverse residents, and to implement great and tremendous technology and technology opportunities. We find that building an inclusive smart city at the City of Los Angeles, we find data science to be one of the most important components in doing that. And in that, we have 4 key areas, and I'll simply touch briefly. First of all, we establish an ethical foundation. Why do we approach what we do? Secondly, we identify inclusion goals. What are our targets? How do we, where are we trying to go, and what are our objectives? Third, we create various data projects, and I'll describe one quickly in the following slides. And fourth, we take efforts to ensure that our analysis is reproducible and that the information can be shared and leveraged for future efforts. So first of all has to do with our ethical foundation. The City of Los Angeles published what we call our digital code of ethics. It's 36 pages that covers our values, it covers our guidelines, it covers how we approach emerging technology. And really what it does is it establishes a framework for us to understand what it means to be inclusive and for us to use technology that is human-centric, that creates transparency among our constituents in our government, that creates security for our digital services, that is sustainable, and it creates equity. I think the equity is one of the most important components of this conversation. Secondly, we try to use inclusion goals to set our objectives. As I mentioned before, there's 56 different goals in our Smart LA 2026 strategy. And the reason we use 2028 is because those are goals towards the 2028 Summer Olympics and Paralympics that will be hosted in the city of Los Angeles. But we identify key performance indicators, and we're in the process of redefining our digital inclusion KPIs so that we can truly understand what our objectives are as a society and how our government is going to be influencing change. I'd like to briefly discuss a data project example. And really what it is it's machine learning that we use to measure equity in our city plans. So we're using advanced data analysis to assess city planning. Back in 2016, Los Angeles residents voted something that we call the Transit-Oriented Community Program. And really what it is it's a set of incentives for building developers to build affordable housing within a half a mile of transit stops. So as you can imagine, it's an effort for us to be able to build our housing close to transit roads. And the big question was, well, how has human activity been since 2016? Is it spread evenly across LA neighborhoods? Are certain neighborhoods favored over others? Is our capitalistic enterprise market, is it somehow inequitable or favoring some neighborhoods status over others? So it became very important for us to leverage over 10, 12 different data sets in the demographic information, permitting information, transportation information. And I'm not going to get into great detail, but here are some of the key outcomes. You can see in the slide here, it shows red representing where buildings were developed compared to the blue where the opportunity zones would be wanted development. And what we found is that the city planning staff felt at the time and the permitting were inequitable, they couldn't hold it. And so now through our machine learning efforts, we quantify it for them. And we developed a tool for the city planning department that allows them to very efficiently and very effectively monitor and change program planning to ensure that all neighborhoods were included as a part of this program. Our very last effort when it comes to using data around inclusion and to create an inclusive smart city comes down to what we call reproducible results. And that is to ensure that our analysis is trustworthy, it's reproducible, and can be used by other teams in the future. Quite often, data science is a one and done. And so it became very important for us to be able to create results that would be ongoing, they'd be systemic, and that can be leveraged in other data science projects. We do dozens of these projects every year, so it became important for us to be able to make it reproducible and resilient. And I think lastly, I just want to leave with why it's important for governments in this way. And this is a quote from our digital code of ethics. We say, unlike private sector technology companies, the government is presumed to provide leadership in the responsible and ethical use of modern technology. And at the City of Los Angeles, we understand that public trust, it takes time to build and it can't be easy to lose. And so I really appreciate the team that the City of Seoul, the Metropolitan Government of Seoul has established for the 2020 Leadership Conference. And the City of Los Angeles appreciates being invited and to share ideas and to learn. Thank you very much.
And moving on, we would like to listen to other presentations from Korea. First, we have Director Kim Jong-gun of SH Corporation. Would like to invite him in the middle of the stage. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me well? Today, I stand before you with a very simple story. So how can we develop an inclusive smart city? And today, I'm going to talk about how the digital technology meets green technology to develop an inclusive smart city. So I've come with an example that will kick off our discussion. So there are lots of citizens who want to see an inclusive smart city or a smart city, and you and I, we use smartphones all the time from morning till night, and we search our data through a smartphone, we generate data through a smartphone, and we are indeed becoming phonosapiens, which was a word coined by economists. So you can see that there are lots of urban problems, and many cities are trying to address these urban problems. But as you can see here, a lot of cities are very much focused on the digital or smart aspects of cities. So in urban development or city development, Peter Ho, who is an urban scholar, he talked about cities of tomorrow, so after 2000. So in 2016, UN Habitat mentioned about inclusive cities, and as you can see, smart cities have become the major trend or the core to many cities' interest. So inclusive smart city can be explained by this drawing. So there are green cities and there are smart cities on the other hand, and the conversions of green cities and smart cities will be able to attain the sustainable development goals that are defined by the United Nations. So smart cities has become a very hot issue, but does it include inclusiveness is a very important issue. So we have analyzed the keywords from 726 related cases of smart cities. You can see that the big letters, so city, smart, quality of life, as keywords. So you can see we have people joining us from the Netherlands and Helsinki and LA, but you can see that a lot of cities are interested in energy-related issues or transport-related technologies, and there's also keywords mentioned in red, so governance, quality of life, and so forth. So recently I had a chance to visit Europe and to look at some case studies there. And I was very much impressed with the Smart Together initiative implemented by the EU. And they address the technological divide, the gap, the income disparity, and so forth. And if you look at the city of München in Germany, you can see that how the city and the people are working together to address their local problems. And in Vienna, they have really managed to simplify the smart city project, drawing in a lot of participation and buy-in from their local citizens. So we are seeing a transformation of the livelihoods or lives of our citizens, and SH also came up with the definition of our inclusive smart city, and we have defined 4 characteristics. So first pillar is the harmony of local and smart technologies. So the citizens' participation is important, combined with digital and green technologies. And today also I'm going to share with you an example, but smart city is actually not just about scaling existing technologies, but of course we have to apply the existing technologies, but we also need to develop technologies on our own. So the cases I'm going to share with you are the technologies that we have developed on our own and for which we have filed patents already. So when it comes to smart cities, we have to begin with the problems that we have. So as for the Vienna case, SMART should be very efficient and the project should be very simple and simplified so that we can induce participation from many stakeholders. That way we can implement a living lab and create a smart city together with the local citizens. So these are the 4 strategies that are behind our inclusive smart city. So these are some examples I would like to share with you, or the projects that we're currently implementing. We're currently implementing a smart city project in the district of Magok and also in the district of Kodok and Kangil. Today I'm going to focus on the Magok smart city. So we're testing a lot of different technologies here, and this is the case I would like to focus today. So in the middle on the map, you can see the red circle, which represents stations, subway stations. There are 190 companies that are operating in this area and about 7,000 citizens, residents. So from the station to work or from work to home, it's pretty far to go there on foot, but you have to use something, a transportation. So we provide a first and last mile service to help people commute. So three stakeholders, Seoul City government and the Southern District program team, Gangseok local office, as well as SH are partnering and working together. So on the left, you can see the grain station. So these stations apply our patented technology. So this will be managed in an integrated manner within the complex, and we also apply CO2 reduction technologies to electric scooters and also filtering fine particles. So these are some of the technologies that we have developed. And the second technology I would like to talk about is that currently in Magok Smart City, we analyze the fine particle concentration. And unlike other districts, we see a high level of fine particles. But these ultra-fine particles can become toxic when they meet CO2 emitted by the cars. So we need a technology that can reduce this type of toxic materials. So we leveraged IoT technology, and we used the plant, the moss, to filter the air, to purify the air, and to reduce ultrafine particles. So it is currently under development. And I'd like to briefly talk about the plant moss. So the moss is a plant, but rather than being a plant, you can say that it is it actually has the capacity or ability to filter air pollution. And so we leverage IoT technology, and we monitor the weather forecasts, and to provide sufficient moisture in the air and so forth. There are 21 ultrafine particle detecting centers that were installed. We monitor the data coming out from the centers, and we continue to provide moisture to areas where showing high levels of ultra-fine particles. And we want to leverage this initiative to improve on ecosystem services. So we are in the process of developing an ecosystem service container. So as you can see, we're leveraging a lot of smart technologies to address urban problems. But in order to do that, we need the local community efforts, but we also need to develop technologies with the participation of experts, technicians. So all of these factors should be combined to develop the smart city that we want for the future. Thank you very much. That was Mr. Kim Jong-gun from SH Cooperation. Now I'd like to move on to the last presentation. So it will be by Mr. Santubon Bourne.
Mr. Bourne, thank you very much for your patience today. And if you have the visual slides ready, please have them on standby. And now the floor is yours.
Thank you. I'll give you a short presentation on how Helsinki uses open innovation in creating smart cities. And I hope that you see my slides now. So
Yes, we can see your slides.
Okay, perfect. Finland has always been a very innovative country, and the change in under 100 years from being one of the poorest countries in Europe to where we are now is really a story of innovation, of social innovation, and especially that of high quality equal education. Now cities are becoming more and more key players in driving global change. They are the hubs for entrepreneurship and innovation, and also creation and adoption of new ideas. So the theme of inclusive smart cities is of extreme importance to Helsinki. We see that cities cannot solve all the big challenges facing them alone, like climate change. So we really need to engage the collective innovation power of companies, of people, of academia, and of other cities, of global cities. In Helsinki, this is reflected in the change from sort of narrow traditional economic policy towards an open innovation policy. Testbeds is one of the core tools we use to accelerate open innovation and in creating smart Helsinki. Helsinki is rather specific or unique city in a sense that it has really wide responsibilities ranging from healthcare to education up to universities of applied sciences, urban planning, a lot of infrastructure, energy, harbor, and also a lot of recreational facilities. And we really aim to use all of these to drive innovation by opening them as living labs and platforms to private companies and to academia for creating new innovations and new solutions in real environment with real users, with real citizens. The underlying aim is to create new economic growth, but also at the same time to really find the best new solutions for the city to create sustainable and resilient urban environment and ultimately to improve the life of the citizens. I'll give you two examples. Education is really at the core of the whole Finnish society. And at the same time, they are one of the most important platforms for us for smart city development and co-creation of new solutions, the physical, the virtual, and digital learning environments. In the last three years, we've done huge number of different kinds of experiments ranging from social innovation to new pedagogics to different kinds of technological solutions, AR and VR technologies in education, new solutions to evaluate and follow how students really learn, gamification of learning languages, 360 digital classrooms, which enable really students to feel the experience of historical or natural events and use them as learning environments, and also moving from traditional schools to other spaces as learning environments like museums, where we use gamified AR experience to really teach about the history of Helsinki. And this is really about co-creation of products and services that really respond to the needs of the schools and students. And companies really can be in the schools to create the new solutions and new business models. The city can really procure better and more effective learning solutions. And it really evolves around the idea of co-creation, where teachers play a key role because they know what is needed. They see what is possible with a new technology, and they can influence how the new solutions are developed so that they really fit the teaching environment. But it's also for the students a unique opportunity to learn and be involved in creating the future solutions. And quite many of the solutions are really fun and interesting for the children and offer new ways of learning. Another example would be the innovation districts. Kalasatama is one of the oldest and biggest ones in Helsinki. It is a brownfield development for new housing area and services and commercial area. And this is a place where we really start using the idea of innovation districts, bringing all these different pilots and testing environments into the same place. We did a lot of smart energy, sustainable mobility, last mile logistics, waste management solutions, 3D city model, and creating a digital twin for the city. And also the school and the new healthcare center in this area were used as platforms themselves. So it's basically a giant living lab that brings together the big corporations, small companies, entrepreneurs, research, public sector, and the people. We did about 20 large projects and dozens of small agile piloting and test experiments in this area. There were, I believe, at least 25 major companies involved, over 100 startups and SMEs, 4 universities, and over 1,000 citizens so far have engaged in testing and piloting and giving their opinion on how these technologies should be used in Helsinki. This is a method we are expanding, so we are building new district-level piloting environments in Jätkäsaari and some other places. In future, we are looking more and more moving from individual pilots and tests towards scalable pilots, where we really can go from testing with a startup to really building a big test environment for them. Moving from single technology pilots towards combining technologies and solutions, for example, autonomous vehicles, 5G, urban sensoring, and AI for analyzing the data, or AR plus gaming plus education and social innovation to really look at the innovation from multiple angles. We are developing more and more of these innovation districts because we see that they help also to create sort of hybrid innovations and combine these different angles. We're also building thematic programs now, like the Carbon Neutral Helsinki 2035 project, which actually combines different policies, investments, urban planning, R&D, pilots, and innovation challenges. I really like what Ted said about the data and data policies. I think this is also a theme that's more and more appearing of all of our experiments, and especially the question about the city's role in creating responsible data policies. We also see that innovation is a core field where forerunner cities can and should really cooperate to create solutions for the future and also create cross-border joint testing platforms that would really help us to scale different new solutions. Thank you.
And that rounds out the presentation of Helsinki City of Open Innovation. And Chairman Lee, may I ask another question? We just have listened to three different stories of LA, SH Corporation, and Helsinki. What do you find as commonalities of these three cities? Well, to my eyes, to my opinion, all cities in the world are commonly working on enhancing the quality of life of their citizens. And in establishing smart city development and planning, in the stage of development and planning, they play like Avengers. Well, big data is widely used for the city planning, and that was the case of LA, and I totally agree with their approach and with their goal setting. Traditionally, they've had their own roles, but they now try to engage in big data so that they can be more inclusive and they can establish more planified plans for the future. But LA is working on that to make it real. And also, in case of SH Corporation, combining with green factors, they try to utilize diverse technologies to enhance quality of lives of citizens and to provide services with citizens in the end. And that was also impressive. And in operating those services and infrastructures, open innovation is the key element if you look at the case of Helsinki. And the future smart city is led by education, and Helsinki city has recognized the importance of education in that sense. And from the perspective of economic reproduction, Kalasatunama and Magok district of Seoul are two exemplary cases where we can see how a smart city can go forward in the future direction. And not only the establishment of a smart city, but in a comprehensive way, we need to look further into the case of these innovative testbed cities or districts so that we can take best examples. Thank you very much for your answer, and I would like to ask for your further comment about inclusive smart city. How can we make a more efficient, smart, innovative city or inclusive smart city? Well, by these examples or presentations, I think we have learned a lot. Let me give you some keywords like governance, data, and innovative ecosystem, and smart citizens inclusion and education. Those are needed. And in particular, the city of Los Angeles has such a good system for an inclusive smart city because they set up their own goals and KPIs, and also they have 5 principles of code of ethics, digital ethics, and also they have established a successful funding mechanism. It is such a systemic approach to a realization of smart city, an inclusive smart city in particular. And the digital citizenship is also a reward or a right that we have to secure for our citizens. And it's a kind of philosophical approach, but we want to provide or secure rights for citizens in terms of digital technology. And that is an essential key point for establishing an inclusive smart city. And especially the role of schools in providing education. Well, that should be engaged in co-creation process. That is really critical for us to take into consideration. So in that sense, and warm cares for others, and also smart leadership will be needed. A smart city is not a simple service provider. A smart city should be an ethically responsible player that uses technology and that knows how to provide leadership. So participation of digital citizens is important, but in creating new values, we need to have a basic infrastructure that is a smart city, and that should be an inclusive smart city. And I would like to make one suggestion. How about these 3 cities getting together like Avengers so to make a innovative project all together? Thank you. Thank you very much for your suggestion. Technology matters, it is, but to form an inclusive smart city, citizens' participation and engagement is the second most important thing, I guess. And after listening to different cases of diverse cities in the world, I am sure that the future of a smart city is very bright. Thank you very much for your opinions, and that rounds out the first session. Would like to have a very short break to begin the second session, which is Smart Talk. And please enjoy a short video clip while you're taking a short break. Please keep your seat until the end with us. Lee Seung-hee, thank you.
Finland, designed, built, and iterated with creative solution after solution. Where cities, businesses, and people work together to create an environment that makes sense. people, for business, for creating innovative solutions to further improve our lives. We're proud that there's more to do. With you in the Helsinki metropolitan area, we will build and test solutions for a smarter, cleaner, and more prosperous future. These groundbreaking innovations will be exported to the world and drive us all forward.
Over the past decades, The Hague has become known as the international city of peace and justice. The Hague is the host to a number of well-known international organizations, from the Peace Palace, Europol, to the International Criminal Court. It is also the home to numerous businesses and startups that find the city best placed to do good while doing business. It comes as no surprise that with the digital revolution in full swing, modern technologies such as big data, AI, blockchain and the Internet of Things are transforming the policy-making sector. This makes The Hague the place to be for dialogue on internet accountability and ethics in the digital age.
One of the biggest dilemmas that I think we all have to deal with is the relation between a globally connected internet that doesn't really belong to anyone, but it does serve and belong to everyone at the same time, and the question of law, the rule of law, and how it sort of conflicts or clashes at times.
The Hague is, of course, where law, technology and governance come together, building on the tradition of a city of peace and justice. And then adding in the very pragmatic but also very international Dutch who are good at solving problems. You've got all these international institutions, you've got multilingual people, you've got the beach close by, you've got everything coming together to really solve the problems that the digitalization is presenting to the world.
Seoul is a truly special city. This trail is an old railroad track that instead of being torn down, was completely reformed. The city has created a sense of ease and romance I had forgotten, and it surprises me every time I experience it.
Seoul, a special city for you and me. I saw you.
Good afternoon again, ladies and gentlemen. 2020 Seoul City Smart Leaders Forum. We are back with the talk concert. I would like to greet you once again. My name is Lee Seung-hee, MC for that Smart Talk. And I have one company here next to me. You may recognize him after hearing his catchphrases. Good afternoon. My name is Chong Tan-gyu, a comedian. And we are double MCs for this Smart Talk concert. And 철규, to enjoy a smart city life, what should I do? Well, to enjoy it to the fullest, what should I do? Right, let me think. Okay. Well, to a person like me who doesn't know what a smart city is and how to apply a smart city policy, well, for those kind of people, we are now holding this Smart Talk concert, and many people from all over the world are connected online. And good afternoon, everybody. Well, who are they? Would you please introduce them to us? Yeah, first, we have Mr. Lee Won-mok, Smart City Policymaker of Seoul Metropolitan Government. Good afternoon. And we have Professor Chun Jong-jun of Seoul City University from Statistics Division. And we have CEO Yoo Eung-jun from Nvidia. Good afternoon. And they are here with us physically on the stage. And we have Director Jo Won-hee. Good afternoon. And we also have one another person to introduce. We have CEO Song Ki-kwang of DOT. And this is not all. We're not finished yet, and we now have guests from all over the world connected virtually. And we have Ms. Kim Hae-soo from Seoul University, and all panelists of the world. Nice to meeting you. Well, thank you all for participating in this talk concert. And we also have Ms. Valeria Vizquez, and who's studying in Korea now. Yes. And now let us move on to England. We have Director Gareth Davis from British Embassy in Korea. Good afternoon, and he's a good Korean speaker. So, we just stopped by the Great Britain, and let us go to now Thailand. From Thai Embassy in Korea, we have Mr. Supanat Sanum. Good afternoon. Well, and continuing, we have Mr. Andrew Im, and Trade Commissioner of Quebec Embassy in Korea. And we also have Mr. Im Pi-sang in Canada. Ms. Im Pi-sang, sorry. Well, all speak Korean very well because they love Korea, aren't they? Yes, I guess so. All right, from different sectors, areas, we have 10 different panelists, and that's not the end. And continuing from the first session, we have speakers from overseas, the CIO Marine Franier from the Netherlands. All right, the 15 smart citizens are gathered here to present their comments on smart cities. So without further ado, would like to listen to their stories. Let us now begin the talk time. Well, I am looking forward to many useful and interesting comments from them. What is a smart city, by the way, Torgyu? Oh, you're asking that question to me, right? Okay. I am pretty much good at English, so if I guess the meaning of smart city, smart means to be smart, and city means a city, so that means a city which is smart, right? Okay, so for people who are not familiar with the concept of smart city, Professor Chun Jong-jun, would you please?
So we use resources on Earth, so water, energy, and time. So when it comes to smart city, we leverage communication, electronic technologies to efficiently use our limited resources and transform the lives of our citizens. So it is indeed an urban environment that enables to do so. So that was quite a brief and very succinct definition of smart city. Now we're getting an idea of what smart city is, but of course course, we should not stop here. Now we're going to have a look at the history of Smart City maybe, and CEO Yoo Eung-jun of Nvidia Korea is going to give a brief talk about Smart City technology today and yesterday. Hello, I am Yoo Eung-jun from Nvidia Korea. Thank you very much for inviting me. And we actually call ourselves as Nvidia AI City because we actually refer Smart City as AI City. So I'm going to talk about the definition of AI City, what kind of solutions that we provide. As you may well know, if you look at the history of IT, there's been a lot of change since 25 years ago. So in the mid-1990s, there was Wintel, which emerged. So you can see that 1 billion PCs have become integrated into one through PC Internet. And in 2000, we saw the emergence of mobile and cloud. So when it comes to mobile, actually we use our smartphones so that we can work not only at home, but anytime, anywhere on the go. And the cloud enables us to use different types of features through SuperCom. And in 2010, and ever since, we are seeing a lot of IoT devices. So we can leverage data coming out from hundreds of billions of devices. So we are indeed seeing the emergence of AI-based era, and Nvidia is also one of the core members of this community. Nvidia may be familiar to a lot of males out there because we also operate in the game business, but we also develop AI-based computing platform. So what that means is that in order to implement AI, we need a lot of computing power, and in order to efficiently use this computing power, we have developed a platform, and we provide this platform. So don't refer to us as an Nvidia game company, but we are AI-based platform computing company. So when it comes to Smart City, what we refer to as AI City, we focus on two elements. First is efficiency, and second is safety. When it comes to efficiency, as you can see, there are lots of elements like traffic control, and we analyze the retail information or data. And in urban spaces, there are lots of players and resources. We want to efficiently manage these resources. And second is safety. Safety has a lot of applications. For example, we can do the surveillance of and prevent crimes, and also execute law, and also do CSI. So Nvidia actually implements AICT based on efficiency and safety. As you may well know, there are about 2 billion surveillance cameras that are operating worldwide, but most of those cameras are quite based on traditional technologies. We're seeing a lot of AI-based surveillance cameras that are becoming available. So in terms of efficiency and safety, we want to address these issues as AI-related issues. So Smart City is a city that helps to address AI-related issues. So in order to attain this goal, we have partnered with a lot of companies, as you can see up on the screen. So AI Smart City operates in a completely different environment. So you can see that it is 10 times and 20 times more performant than before. So I would like to ask all of you to become our partner so that you can also play a role in developing the era of smart cities or AI cities. So this is a list of the partners that we work with. And we are joined by many people virtually and physically. We ask you to become our partner, and we will provide the source or the foundation technology for you to develop such smart city. Thank you very much. Yes, so that was talk from Mr. Yoo Eung-jun from Nvidia Korea. So he gave a very brief and very interesting presentation on the smart city technology today and yesterday. Now, Yes, we do understand that smart cities are good, but why do we have to leverage these latest technologies to develop smart cities? Why is everyone very much committed to developing smart city? Mr. Andrew, can you elaborate?
Yes, so as everybody knows, there's a huge rise in urbanization. Currently, over 50% of the population of the world live in cities. Living in cities comes with challenges. I'm sure we've all felt that transportation, water treatment, especially a city like Seoul, has air pollution issues. So as the professor already defined, with smart city technologies, we could sometimes resolve some of these challenges, or hopefully mitigate some of these challenges so that the citizens could live a happier and better lives for all.
Oh, he's such a good English speaker. All right, a smart city is important in those regards. Well, listening to those stories, I become more and more curious to know what kind of smart city related projects are underway in the world. So we're now in Seoul, Ms. Seung-hee. So what kind of smart city projects do we have in Seoul? There are so many to enumerate everything during this time talk due to time constraints. For example, Tareungi, sharing bicycle services and also bus transit alarm services and Ulpe midnight owl bus services and public free Wi-Fi network is such a renowned smart city service. Well, these are real tangible assets of smart city of metropolitan government of Seoul, and I am also curious to know what kind of other smart city projects are on the way. So how about Canada? Good afternoon.
Canada. 네, 안녕하세요. So I will continue for my speech in English. So to continue on the line of Andrew, the vision of Quebec Smart City is directed toward the citizens. So the city is directing the development of its smart technologies to improve the experience of its citizens in their daily lives by offering them the best conditions for healthy living now and in the future. Either to ensure security, smart infrastructure, green sustainability, and smart management of transport and service available to citizens. And to achieve that vision, so from my knowledge and experience, one of the trends that is observed in Quebec City right now and also in Montreal is the development of IoT solutions, which are essential to managing everything from sanitation and water transportation, communication, infrastructure, waste management, and for sustainable development, so the more on the green side.
Well, in Canada as well, those advanced technologies play the key role. Valerie, please. Hello?
안녕하세요. 네, hello. Okay, so I'm going to start my speech in English too. Okay. Smart cities have been in the development plan of Colombia since 2008, and they first started to reduce the digital gap and the conditions of inequality, also to improve the massification of the Wi-Fi. And particular cases of cities such as Bogota or Medellin has successfully implemented the smart cities. However, the other cities still have a long way to go, and they need to be thought about their special characteristics in order to succeed.
Thank you very much. So there are lots of cities that are trying to implement Wi-Fi services, and yes, it seems like that a lot of cities are doing that.
Please share your ideas, Mr. Franye.
Yeah, we provide free and secure Wi-Fi to our citizens. At the same time, we invest a lot of time in education of our citizens and small businesses. So we help them, for example, to make their tools secure and safe. And at the same time, we're looking at different kind of fields like creating small energy grids in which citizens, companies, and the government can relate energy between each other. So a lot of different kinds of things, and all aimed at improving the.
Yes, so we can see that there are lots of efforts being made to improve the lives of the citizens. Now let's look at the case of Seoul.
Good afternoon. Well, as one of Koreans and as one of Seoul citizens, I would like to talk about one special case of smart city service provided by Seoul Metropolitan Government. Like Canada, sanitizing sewage or transportation management system, those are operated through advanced smart technologies. And also CCTV in many residential and commercial areas play a role of sensor, and it also gathers information. And in addition to that, utilizing online network service, we also provide many public services, and the smart devices are rented to citizens, and toys and books can be rented online of each district web pages. So these diverse smart services are being provided with the citizens. Well, I understand that as we have very many smart services in Seoul City, time was not enough. Now it's Thailand.
Hello. In case of Thailand, I think people can do so many things to enjoy a wide range of services through websites and mobile applications. In terms of public service, currently there are at least 280 types of government services available online. You can also register for your business, request for your product licenses, permits, certificates. You can also file tax and make appointment with government agency without visiting government office. These e-services help people save time and also resources. I would like to say that private sector also play a significant role as well. Thai people also enjoy several kinds of services that make their life easier, ranging from internet banking to food delivery. Thailand had a strong food culture, as you know. Our love for food and infamous traffic jam made Bangkok one of the toughest battlegrounds for restaurant delivery applications. Applications like Lineman, Food Panda, GrabFood, and Uber Eats are being used on a daily basis. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Supanat. Kapkungkap. Next, I would like to give the floor to Andrew Lim. If you're ready, you have the floor.
So thank you. I'll try to be concise. So I wanted to bring an example of a smart city program called Big C. It's called BIXI. It's very similar to Seoul's Tarungi, where the name Tarungi came from the actual sound of the bell of the bicycle. And for Big C, which is present in Montreal, they put the word bicycle and taxi together. So it became Big C. So just like Tarungi, they have stations all around the city. They utilize Bluetooth technology, IoT, and they currently have around 7,000 bikes, 1,000 stations, etc. And they use this bicycle sharing program to resolve the last mile issue. It's been going around for over a decade, so it's been doing very well, actually. Yeah.
Moving on, let us move to UK. So, Mr. Gareth Davis, can you share your case?
That we're seeing here in Seoul. So we see the bikes, we see the scooters, and we see modern smart transportation services. But one of the things that we're doing here in the UK is we're not actually using the phrase smart city anymore. And that's not a criticism of the term. It's more that we think it's important that we embrace the fact that citizens are involved in the process. So the phrase that we use now in the UK tends to be connected places. And so a couple of interesting examples of this are around football, for example. We have 96 professional football teams in England alone, and these are often legacy football stadiums that are in the center of cities that are difficult to move, and it means we have a lot of foot traffic moving around these places. And so a lot of our cities now have got smart monitoring systems for crowds, making sure that we are helping these people get into the city to watch their favorite football team, but also then be able to get out safely and securely through systems like smart street lighting, smart transportation systems that actually change flows of traffic to allow people out. And these are really important pieces of thinking for cities now as we try and keep these systems working with lots of people moving around.
Thank you very much for sharing the case of the UK. Well, in a smart city we already live in, and the concept of smart city has been under incubation since long time ago, I assume. So, Professor Chun, to make a successful smart city, what do we need? There are several success factors that we need for a successful smart city. First of all, the tripartite cooperation of public, private, and academia. And also, to make a sustainable smart city, we need policies and plans. And last but not least, citizens who live in a smart city. Those are elements and success factors that we need. Yes, all those elements are very much important, like Professor Chan has just mentioned, but a smart city should be led by citizens, don't you think? Yes, you're right. Citizens' engagement is one of the key factors that we have to have. So, what kind of smart cities plans and policies do we have? Mr. Andrew, please.
Citizen participation is a key factor in smart cities. We need to really know what the citizens want and need. So for Quebec's case, actually Quebec, like Seoul's open data plaza, Quebec has an open data portal. And I'm sure you guys probably know open data is very important because availability of data allows citizens to participate in creating the smart cities that need. So one of the apps, I guess, that a private citizen has developed with the data they obtain from Quebec is called Where is My HUD? So this basically means this utilizes GPS data as well as other data such as infringement or some sort of fine or some infringement that a restaurant has made. So private citizens can actually download this app and see which restaurants they should go, which they should not go. There's also crime data that they input into this actual app. So for example, if you're moving into a neighborhood, perhaps you could check out this map and perhaps not move there and move somewhere else. So Quebec realizes the importance of getting other people to kind of put in their input as well, and also through innovation with using data.
Thank you very much for sharing the case of Canada, Quebec in particular, and what kind of citizen-oriented or citizen engagement policies are being made. So, Mr. Lee, please. Yes. Traditional citizens' participation exists, but in addition to that, recently we have many different online participation cases in Seoul. For example, one of the representative cases is Democratic Seoul and voting. Democratic Seoul, or Seoul and democracy, means that the Seoul citizens can submit their requests, and once that special request is supported by more than 50 citizens, then it will be taken into consideration by policymakers, and if it is supported by more than 1,000 citizens, then it will be adopted as an official agenda so that they can be answered by mayor. And voting is to use mobile application, so concerning many different policies of the city or brand competition or other concours, and if the citizens suggest or propose any suggestions, then that will be voted by other citizens, and like that citizens' opinions will be directly applied and reflected. And up until now, we've held 2,500 votings, and out of those, 700 suggestions are reflected to our policies. Yes, voting, that we have another question related to voting. Well, can you please elaborate one practical case of voting, how you reflected that kind of suggestion to policy? Yes, there are many cases, but if I have to name one, well, it's been around 8 years. So the budgeting process made by citizens' participation. So, in a nutshell, in a budgeting process, citizens can raise a specific project that would need public funding of the city, and other citizens can vote priority of those suggested projects, and depending on the prioritized order, then Seoul metropolitan government will pick up some citizens' participation budgeting process, and around 800 cases have been held like that. And it's in the end of September or October that we close that budgeting process. So many citizens make votes up until then. And I am not sure if you have seen the first session of this forum. I have presented on Gachi on brand. And in the process of final decision making, we also received suggestions from citizens and suggestions from experts, and voting was also used for the preferences of citizens.
Yes. So the Seoul city is leveraging latest technologies to communicate with the citizens. That is quite impressive. But when it comes to developing smart cities, we maybe want to hear from the private sector as to the importance of public-private partnership. Mr. Song, Ki-kwang. So smart city actually requires a lot of public-private partnership. Private-public partnership is all the more important. And within Korea, you can see that many cities are partnering with not only large companies but also small and medium-sized companies to provide us financial support and also to provide a space where we can test the different ideas of smart city. And not only in Korea but also in other countries. Actually, small startups like us, it is very difficult for us to develop our business overseas and partner with overseas players. But Seoul City is very supportive in that regard. And if Seoul City can also collaborate with other companies in other countries, I think that we'll be able to create a better environment for smart cities worldwide. To give you an example, right before the COVID-19 outbreak, we visited the CES with the Seoul City government delegation, and we were able to participate in this very important fair and also collaborate on navigation services for the visually impaired. And we also had a chance to collaborate with the Olympics hosting city. So private-public partnership is to give opportunities for the budding startups in Korea, but also provide them with the opportunities to develop their presence overseas. Yes, so we heard from the private sector. So for the growth of the private sector, public-private partnership is important. So what about from the academia? Ms. Kim Hye-soo, are you with us? Hello? Yes. I'd like to share with you from my viewpoint from the academic perspective. So I'm a graduate school student, and we need data in order to do our researches and studies, and then take stock of the situation and develop policies and just make system recommendations. So for us, data is crucial. So the government needs to support us with the data, and the private sector need to provide those data so that we can jointly conduct researches together. I think that is very crucial. For example, if you go to the Open Data Plaza of Seoul, you can have access to a lot of different types of data. So for example, we can leverage LTE user data of Seoul City to calculate or estimate the population of Seoul. So as such, private companies need data, and they can also get the support from the government. So that's the plus side for the private sector, and for the government or the public sector, they can leverage this data to better improve their policies. And as for the venture firms or startups, they can also benefit from the data. And to share with you an example, the Seoul city government is providing a sharing nanuka, or sharing car. So this is a combination of a partnership between Seoul Car and Green Car. So it's a shared car riding service to Seoul citizens. So if public and private partnership bears fruit, that will be translated into better services for the citizens, and the citizens can benefit from these smart services. Thank you very much, Ms. Kim. So she shared with us the importance of public-private partnership and also partnership with academia. Now let's hear from Mr. Gareth Davis from the UK, so about the public-private partnership.
So in the UK, we don't have a formal national strategy for smart city development or connected places development. As we all know, every one of our cities and towns, they have unique characteristics, whether it's the demographics, the geographies, or the businesses and industries that are based there. And so we tend to see in the UK public-private partnerships that are absolutely built from the ground level up at the local area, and that will be collaborations that are supported by local government, by bringing in large and small companies, bringing in local centers of education like universities, and then really importantly bringing in the citizen groups, the NGOs that want the kind of services that the population requires. And so this collaboration is really, really central to everything that we're seeing coming out of UK cities at the moment. It's a very holistic approach, and that means that the data platforms that we're building is taking that need all the way from the beginning. It's not simply build a tech platform and then add. The tech platform is being designed with this kind of collaboration in mind. And we're now seeing, I think we're probably seeing in many cities around the world, the introduction of chief digital officers into our city halls, into our town leaderships. And so we have people now responsible at the city level for building these relationships and building these partnerships. And so once we see these programs developing, often with one city or one town partnering with a major tech partner, they're then creating those conditions that allow the SME community to come in, those citizens groups and others, to provide the advice, to access the data, to create solutions that nobody was really thinking that the town, city or region really required. So it's really important. And actually those landing spaces in particular for SMEs aren't necessarily just for UK companies. We have got cities that are opening up their doors to international companies, such as those from South Korea, that are interested in offering their solutions to cities and towns in the UK. And we have a few other organizations that are providing a service in the UK that's enabling these partnerships to flourish. A really important one for the UK is an organization called the Connected Places Catapult. And this is actually both a research center, but it's also a kind of meeting place for all of those different stakeholders to come together, to connect, to network, to meet, to access the data that the Connected Places Catapult is generating. And they're working on a local area in towns and cities across the UK, but now they're starting to work through programs like their city typology activity with cities around the world. And it's this holistic nature that's really, really, really important to the UK. And once all of that is done, we're then finding that our cities and towns are able to access national level funding, but also create new systems of funding, such as city bonds, which is allowing them to finance the plans that they have.
네, 감사드립니다. 민관 그리고 기업
Thank you very much. The collaboration of private and public sector, including the academia as well, well, that will create a synergetic effect. And we will also would like to listen to Thailand case.
공유해 주시면 되겠습니다.
Well, in case of Thailand, even though we have the Ministry of Digital Economy and Society, or MDES, as the main responsible agency, smart city development in Thailand has been so far driven by joint efforts from all stakeholders, including local community, government agencies, and also private sector. We believe that members of the society know what is best for them. Then we get them on board when exchanging ideas and visions, and, as well as making plans for our smart city project. We also reached out to private sector in order to bridge the funding gap and make sure that the projects are sustainable. So one of the interesting and promising trends that we have seen in our PPP experiences with the so-called Phuket and Khon Kaen model. As you know, Phuket is one of Thailand's most popular tourist destinations, and Khon Kaen is also one of the fastest growing cities in the Northeast region. This Phuket Khon Kaen model originated from the ideas of local tycoons who saw the need to develop strategies for urban development in order to make their cities more livable and make their economies more prosperous. The tycoon chipped in a sizable chunk of money to establish what we call city development companies. These city development companies have been working closely with all stakeholders, including the local communities, the government, and trying to create win-win strategies to achieve sustainable urbanization. Yeah, thank you.
네, 민관 협력.
Yes, so that was the importance of public-private partnership in not only Thailand but also in other parts of the world, and so we came to realize once again the importance of public-private partnerships. Yes, so to sum up, citizens, businesses, governments, and the local communities need to work together to form a team, like an Avengers. So are you talking about the Avengers? Yes, I think it's a good analogy. Yes, since we're talking about the film Avengers, let us talk a little bit about cinema, because we do see a lot of images of smart cities in films and movies. Yes, I am a big fan of SF films. So let's now have a look at what kind of smart city images are being envisioned in films. Who's going to talk next? It's going to be director Cho Won-hee. So please share with us your case.
Well, talking about films and cinema, it is always good to watch those films on the screen all together, but due to intellectual rights, I wasn't able to provide those film images. But anyways, in the films, we only see the images of future cities. And I would like to touch upon those cases so that we can see how directors would imagine the smart cities. Well, first, the dystopia. During this forum, we have been talking about how good a smart city is and how efficient and how useful it is. But I think I should be the first person to talk about the backdrops or the dark side of smart city. Dystopia is the reverse utopia, where we can see only morose images of a future city. So in the films, smart city is seen as dystopia very often. H.P. Robert Crawford, the author, once said that the oldest fear of human being is the fear of unknown things. Well, Professor John once mentioned in the beginning that the smart city changes the lives of citizens. And the smart city only imagined how the smart city will change our lives. Directors have just imagined it. And in a SF film, one of the important subject is the fear of technology. And one of the representative fear of technology is, you may all know, this film, 2001 Space Odyssey, which was released in 2001 by Stanley Kubrick. Here, AI dominates humans, and from that fear starts the story. And very advanced AI rejects to obey human beings, and how much risks would that impact on the lives of human beings? From that question starts the story of Stanley Kubrick. And other than that, we have many different cases. We have Metropolis by Fritsche director, and here the destination of smart city is very well shown. There's a vertical skyscraper. There are many skyscrapers vertically established, and these buildings are designed as three-dimensional ones. But in this smart city, only leave slaves. So their move and their traffic is under surveillance, and smart elevators are designed for the exploitation of the labor of slaves. And also we have this exemplary film, The Matrix, released in 1999 when the mobile was not the mainstream. Here, smart city was an imaginary one, and people were dominated by technology, and they dream of smart city, which is a programmed one. But that smart city still use wired phones and analog transportation, but those were coded and those were just programs, and that was the setup for this film. Well, before Matrix, a film called Dark City was released 1 year prior to Matrix in 1998. In this film, the city where people live is actually a testbed of aliens. At 10 o'clock at night, all people in the city get to sleep and their memory is reset. And the buildings move by themselves, and the landscape changes as a result, and the people live another life different to the previous ones, to the one day before. So human and city, they change themselves on their own. So this kind of imagination will maybe a prototype for the smart city in the future, I assume. And if we get to more realistically to the dystopian aspect of smart city, you can watch Ready Player One in 2018. Well, here, all IT infrastructures are well used by human beings, but the planet is polluted. And the planet is no longer a good place to live in. So even if this is a vertical city, but in this film, well, the town is about Ohio in 2045, and their real life is very harsh to carry on, but the director suggests that a smart city will be a kind of alternative place where people should move to. Well, in films, smart city is often seen as dark ones, but creators may use that kind of approach to ignite the curiosity about smart city from spectators. I don't think that smart city will be established in that way. So in films, that's not the end. Well, automated vehicles and autonomous vehicles are often featured. Like in Blade Runner in 1982, flying taxi was already shown, and flying vehicles were kind of romantic dreams that directors had before. Well, autonomous vehicle is pretty much seen in our real lives. But in terms of visuals, flying cars were much more fascinating, and we are curious to know if drones can replace that image of flying cars and taxis. And we also have a film called The Fifth Element in 1997 by Luc Besson. And here, all vertical buildings and spatial spaces only exist because people cannot live anymore on the earth, on land. So if you open your window, then there should be a flying delivery car. So you can grab your noodles from that car. So you have a flying store like a delivery services that we have now. So this could happen very soon in the future, I guess. And also, a Minority Report in 2002, we can see the future of 2054. So all advanced autonomous cars are shown. So level 5 of autonomous vehicle, which doesn't need man, a real driver, is shown here, but that's not optimistically drawn, because if you don't need a driver, then to director there is no need for hero. So if you look at Captain America Winter Soldier in 2014, you can see more realistic autonomous vehicles, well, level 1 or 2. So a hero gets to a car accident, and that car turns into level 5 autonomous vehicle right away, so that the car can help the hero to fight against villains. So the main goal of making films is to make fun, so that's why unique approaches are shown. But to my personal opinion, Her is the best film to have shown a smart city. Well, it's a story of Los Angeles, and a smoggy city is shown, and there's a personal device reminding of a smartphone, and the hero falls in love with an AI. And in his personal lives, how smart city can be impacting is very much well elaborated in the story of this film. But this is a story of LA, but actually was filmed in Shanghai. To Western people, Shanghai may have some images of exotic aspects. So, smart cities in films try to draw attention from spectators, so it may be distorted in that sense. Well, then, let us get back to the Matrix. To conclude, imaginary world in a film can be future-oriented and could show some things that cannot be easily seen in the reality. But in the Matrix, that is the reverse case. A smart city to directors is not dependent on technology, but a smart city of directors tries to lean forward daily lives of citizens and people. So they want to see the development of smart city prone to creativity. They may have that unconsciousness, I guess. And Seoul, Busan, and other metropolitan cities that we encounter in our daily lives should be a place where smart city can be reflected in real lives. Thank you. Thank you very much for such insightful and interesting stories. from 100 years ago, a concept of smart city existed. It was quite interesting to see. And also, I look forward to future images of smart city in films to come. And we cannot miss out the concept of the fourth industrialization. Mr. Yu, would you please elaborate on that?
Thank you very much for that interesting talk. So Nvidia believes that fourth industrial revolution equals AI. And the practical use of AI is the cloud-based services these days. So AI can write papers, can do programming, AI can ask questions. All of these are already being implemented. And if that to be generalized, then there should be a very intricate model, and we need a processor that can handle all that. And healthcare sector is a very promising sector in terms of AI. In the U.S., AI-based healthcare services is widely available. And today we're very much focused on smart city, and smart city is an application, applies a lot of AI. And in China, for example, a lot of data is collected to provide AI-based services within a smart city. Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Yoon, for your remarks. I personally am very much interested in AI out of all these smart technologies. I'm sure that many of you recall or remember, but a few years ago, not only in Korea, but around the world, there was a very interesting event. So there was a match or a game between AI and human. Yes, you're talking about when the Go player, Lee Sedol, lost against the AI. Yes, nowadays a lot of people use AI speakers at home. So as such, AI technologies have become quite widespread. Nowadays, you can actually see AI call center staff. And at times, AI can also write a ruling at a court. Wow, that's quite impressive. So you have to lobby for AI so that it will actually render a good ruling. So recently in the UK, I heard that there's an increasing interest in AI and data. So Mr. Davis, can you share with us the current trends of AI in the UK?
Sure, absolutely. And I'll start by saying that Google DeepMind was actually a UK company in that Go match, but obviously started by Canadians and now owned by Americans. So it's a truly global collaboration on that front. I think one of the most important developments that we have in the UK is around the growing study of the field urban analytics. And so we're seeing a lot of interest in universities and at city level around how you can combine so many different sources of interest from so many different stakeholders. So you're looking at the processes in a city, the structures themselves, the interactions between the city and its people, infrastructure, the technology, but also how all of that evolves over time. And this is not a simple issue. It's a very complex set of information that needs to be brought together. And these are two leading organizations for us at the moment in the UK on this are the Alan Turing Institute. This is our National AI and Data Analytics Centre. And the Open Data Institute, which is looking at that collection and the defense of that collection of open data. And that was founded by Sir Tim Berners-Lee, the creator of the World Wide Web. And it's these organizations that are leading this UK push on how we can aggregate all of this information into useful services. But a couple that I'd just like to focus on. The first is in Manchester around something called the Triangulum Project. And with COP26 and climate change just around the corner, there's a huge focus in the UK on how we can use our AI and data to really reduce the level of energy consumption in our cities. And this project in Manchester is looking at city services, city buildings, and major partners like the university there to see how using that data brings down energy usage. And this particular project, so since it started, has already reduced emissions in the city by the equivalent of around 12,000 cars. And this is just going to continue to build as it goes across the city. Personally, for me, though, I think the most interesting one is around health, and in particular how we protect our senior citizens. So there's a really interesting program now operating in the city of Bristol in the west of England, where they have put sensors into the homes. Through a voluntary process, they've put sensors into homes of some of our senior citizens there, so that we're able to monitor how they're moving around their homes, how they're using their houses. And so the AI is sensing that data collected and is understanding, are these people moving in the way that we expect? So if there is anything that is worrying, it automatically triggers alarm to a city switchboard, and we can have somebody from our city centre calling that person, trying to get hold of them, making sure that they're okay, are you all right, and calling the emergency services. So it's very practical applications, but this is oversimplification of what is a very big and challenging problem.
Thank you very much for sharing your cases of how you use the data. And we have a relevant question to the data usage. We have a data expert, Professor Chan.
So big data is becoming increasingly important. We've seen that with the response to COVID-19, and to develop smart city, we need a lot of data, and it will be an important element. But there are also concerns about privacy issues, private information protection. So what are some solutions? I think that's quite a tricky or a very difficult question. So data usage and privacy are two conflicting aspects. So it is very reasonable to actually define the level of security in advance, and it's very important to maintain that level of security. So we have to address other hurdles to ensuring that the level of security that we had defined. And when we adopt or apply technology, there should be a consensus within the society with regards to the costs that are associated in adopting this technology. Yes, in implementing a new technology, there are lots of trials and errors that we need to overcome. But if we actually analyze further, we'll be able to minimize these difficulties. So what about in Thailand? Do you have some practical use cases of smart technologies, Mr. Supanat?
And we are currently utilizing smart technologies in many ways. As you may know, Bangkok is one of the world's worst cities for traffic congestion. Our transport ministry has leveraged smart technologies to solve our traffic problems, to create an intelligent transport system. So with this ITS system, we can provide real-time traffic information to drivers. We can also develop many smart transportation solutions, for example, adaptive traffic control, and also electronic toll collection, as well as license plate detection. We also integrate them into one all-encompassing system. In case of Phuket City is also utilizing IoT data analytics and mobile services to create a safe environment for tourists and to achieve sustainable tourism. The city has installed more than 2,000 civilian cameras for security purposes. Each civilian camera automatically tags and recognizes people's face, then matches with the police database that integrates with data analytic platform and can notify the police when an emergency happens. The city also shares tourist data with the yacht service to track the tourists when they board the ship. We also have an application called Smart Phuket that people can use to report incidents and request for help. On top of that, the city generated consumer insights by analyzing tourist demographic data collected from approximately 1,000 Wi-Fi hotspots around the city. As a result, the local businesses are able to utilize these insights for their targeted marketing strategy. Thank you.
Yes, so listening to Mr. Supanat, not only Thailand, but also a lot of countries are using smart technologies. Yes, you're right. And if we look at the worldwide or global applications of smart technologies, smart city is not something that's just in the movies, but it's something that is really in our reality. So there's a development of smart technologies, and regardless of the people's revenue or wealth or disability, there is indeed an issue of digital divide, and company called DAT was the first in the world to actually develop a smartwatch based on Braille. So I'd like to give the floor to Mr. Song Gi-gan, and can you briefly talk about what kind of future innovative services that there can be to develop inclusive smart city? Hello, I am Song Gi-gang from DAT. Today, I would like to briefly talk about the future images of smart city. Yes, as many people said, we are seeing an intense development of smart city related technologies. And yes, there are people who are constantly marginalized from the benefits of these technologies, especially in the era of contact-free world. We're seeing a lot of developments of kiosks, but senior citizens and people with disabilities are marginalized from these services. They cannot use these services that are available to everybody. So when it comes to the future of smart cities, not only our company, but also other technology partners are working to develop technologies to help these marginalized people. So in the near future, I think that in the near future, we'll be able to enhance the access to smart city services. But in order for that to happen, we need to ensure or expand the mobility for the disabled, for the vulnerable. And when these vulnerable disabled persons are on the move, they need the right to use certain services once they move to a certain place. So in terms of a right to mobility, we emphasize the importance of universal mobility. This is a concept that needs to be widely used. So if you divide the transport services, it can be divided into subway, taxis, or buses, or ride-sharing platforms. And what we're doing right now is to make all of these relevant services or respective services available and accessible to the marginally or the vulnerable. We're trying to make these services barrier-free. And we are trying to connect these services seamlessly so that the disabled persons can move from the beginning from the one spot to another seamlessly without any barrier. And as for the subway stations, it is not very much accessible to people with disabled visual impairments. And usually for an average person, it takes 5 minutes to get out from the subway to get out of the station to the road. But for the disabled persons, it takes much more than that. So we are trying to indicate clearly where the exits are located based on the different types of services to the visually impaired. And one of the services that Seoul City is providing is developing smart shelter. So for example, there are bus stations and the visually impaired cannot actually identify these bus stops. So we want people with disabilities to be able to spot these bus stops wherever or whenever they want. And when it comes to universal mobility, the most important aspect is the taxi service. Actually, people with disabilities cannot use taxi services a lot because even if they call a taxi, they would just pass by, the driver would just pass by, and drivers' cars cannot really accommodate wheelchairs. So we need to we need to roll out a lot of van services for the physically disabled persons. And when it comes to universal mobility, in order for the vulnerable to move from one spot to another, we need to be able to provide services to ensure that they do take the action that they need in their destination place. So I mentioned about the contact-free world, and a lot of kiosks are being installed. But every day there are lots of articles about the accessibility to physically disabled and the vulnerable and the senior citizens. So we are providing or developing an accessible kiosks, and we're actually deploying these kiosks to different institutions. And UI is very important, and we need to provide the adequate interfaces to enable these services. For the visually impaired, we provide TTS embedded services so that they can use voice recognition services. And when they access price-sensitive information, we provide braille services so that they can read the numbers. And as for the people with hearing disabilities, a lot of them are illiterate and they know the sign language, but they cannot really read the texts. So we actually provide sign language services, integrated sign language services. And as for the physically disabled persons bound on wheelchair and young children, we try to actually adjust different types of services to their eye level so that they can use those services. So it's like a customized service. So in the near future, we believe that we have to identify the needs of these people and adapt our services to their needs. But if you look in the more long term, so our director and also professor and our CEOs mentioned, but self-driving, like the advanced technologies like self-driving technologies will become more generalized in the next 5 to 10 years. And in order to improve the lives or the comfort of the disabled, that is also important, but there are also people who have issues with regards to mobility. So the self-driving technologies can be the key in the inclusive smart city to enhance the accessibility to the vulnerable people. Thank you very much, Mr. Song, for emphasizing the need for inclusive smart city and its relevant technologies for future innovations. Now, Mr. Lee, the Director General of Seoul City Government, can you provide us with some wrap-up comments?
Well, preparing for today's forum, up until last year, this forum has been held offline physically, but we had to transform it into a completely virtual one. And we had many worries, as you could imagine, because we were not sure of the reach that we can make through this virtual forum. And for about 2 hours, I have been here, and I personally learned a lot from this virtual event and from the stories of diverse people all over the world. And that made me think of many different aspects of smart city. And in some senses, well, COVID-19 made us organize this virtual event. But thanks to COVID-19, well, we've had a chance to go forward. I would say the subject, the theme of this forum is inclusive smart city. Today, as pointed out by many different cities and organizations, a smart city is not completely defined as a term, but each city's organizations and companies, they have their own contexts and backgrounds, and they try to solve different problems and issues using big data, AI, and new technologies arose from the fourth industrialization. And during that process, people-oriented results and outcomes are being made. That's the smart city we can imagine. And smart city should be created and established by all of us present here today. So smart cities in the future, well, actually, those smart cities in the film made me think of many things. Smart cities cannot just automatically give us benefits only. Well, it could be an organization, a government, a company, and citizens. We should contemplate on how to use those technologies and how to engage as many citizens as possible so that we can take full advantage of technologies of the fourth industrial revolution. So those benefits should not be should not be given to a certain exclusive class or exclusive people, but that should be for everything. And digital society is already a reality, and smart society is also a reality. So regardless of education level, wealth, and races, that should be given out to everybody. We should admit that there is an invisible divide of those benefits. We need to think of a society where all can live better and all can help one another. And that's a real smart city in the future that we should aim for. And that should be the conclusion of today's forum. Thank you very much, Mr. Lee, for summarizing today's forum. Technology do not give us naturally a smart city. All stakeholders and all citizens should gather together to cooperate one another to create an inclusive smart city. Well, up to now, many meaningful discussions are made. So, Mr. Chagyu, you're now an expert of smart city, right? Yes, I am. Well, I think I should change my name to Sushi Blanc Smart City Blanca. Well, all audiences and viewers, you are from now on smart citizens. Thank you very much for being with us. That was the first step to a smart city. And also, we have received many responses and feedbacks and comments from all global citizens online. Thank you very much for your participation. An inclusive smart city was discussed very efficiently, and we're requested to participate as much as possible. And we have around 700 comments are posted. And by analyzing these 700 comments and posted, we have had a short video clip. Please have a look on the screen so that we can give you an explanation. Innovation, daily lives, and future for all. So 5 subjects were discussed, and to each subject, the comments were posted. And the city, landscape of city, more than 60% have responded that inclusive smart city is a bodyguard, and the safety, also smartness and advanced technologies, convenience, smart network, and new technology. Those are keywords raised by viewers and spectators. And an inclusive smart city is a magic pocket, it says. And also, another viewer has posted an inclusive smart city is a bodyguard. Well, he may have wished for safety of the smart city, I guess. And the third phrase says, an inclusive smart city is a key to addressing urban problems. And what was the next subject? The next theme was mandatory. So an inclusive smart city is a mandatory element that we have to have. So one of the commenters said that, well, an inclusive smart city is a need for everybody. We do not have to give up, and we have to be courageous to go forward. Well, I can sense the determination of that citizen. Thank you very much. And the next theme is innovation. More than 90% of respondents said that a smart city is about innovation, change, revolution, and challenge. An inclusive smart city is a bright challenge to leap forward to an advanced city. And an inclusive smart city is a new wind. Well, an inclusive smart city is also an evolution of society. Well, yeah, an evolution. That's impressive. And another key word is What was that, Mrs. Singhi? Daily lives. And more than 70% of respondents have said that a smart city is about hope, warmth, happiness, and also abundance. An inclusive smart city is a fence for a warmer society, and an inclusive smart city is an example of a society where everybody can search for happiness. And the last keyword is, Mr. Charkyu? Well, many citizens responded that a smart city is a future for all. Well, more than 58% of respondents have responded that a smart city is about being together and being a companion, love, equity. And we have several comments that we would like to share. An inclusive smart city is a gift that we have to transcend to future generations. Yes, to our children in the future, we need to give an inclusive smart city as a gift, okay? And an inclusive smart city is a beloved city that I would like to keep as a forever companion. All right, that's a great comment. And an inclusive smart city is a tomorrow to which we walk together. Okay, and those are comments and imaginations suggested by citizens. To me, a smart city to citizens is more about sensibilities, not about rationales. So all discussions and comments shared together today seem that a smart city, an inclusive smart city, is a place where everybody can be safe and happy and be warmly giving based on technology. Yes, for a smart city, for everybody in the world, I wish that we could walk together to the destination. Well, thank you very much for keeping your seats till the end with us for the first day. Thank you. And that rounds out the first day of 2020 Seoul Smart City Leaders Forum. And we would like to come to meet you again tomorrow as day 2.
감사합니다.
Thank you.